Hey, Magic fans, welcome back. This is your captain speaking on Captain Clyde's MTG. In the last day or so, I kind of tracked it down. It seems very credible, but there has been a leak for the banning coming up on May 29th. So, for those of you who don't know what's going on, um, we started off with Wizards announcing an extra year onto Standard, so there'll be no rotation this coming normal rotation time, which is, okay, I guess, in their effort to try to help fix Standard, which they're way off the mark, but that's for another video. So, with that being said, they've also said that they're only going to announce bans once every year. Now, if we know in the past they've done it kind of quarterly, they had a schedule, it was 2 or 3 times a year, but also at the same time, they did do emergency bans, which I think is something that's also going to happen here as well, even if they go to a year-long cycle, because with there being a 2-year cycle, cards got very toxic and people wanted bans. If you go to 3 years, if they can't test the card pool for 2 years, what in God's green earth makes them think they can understand card interactions in a 3-year block? Especially since I bet you money they're not going to change how they make cards or how they test them, which is obviously failing to certain degrees right now as we see amazingly overpowered cards come out, people complain, so forth and so on, what have you. So, let's talk about what the supposed leaked list looks like. Before we get into it, don't forget, comment, like, subscribe. Trying to get to 1,000 peeps. I appreciate the help. It helps keep the channel sponsor free. So, are you ready, guys? Girls, 2% young ladies, 3% whoever else is floating around out there. But anyway, so here is a look from one of the many articles I snipped. It says here it's been leaked. Wizards of the Coast removing key cards from each meta deck in their next ban announcement, which will be on the 29th. These are the ones that they're removing. Wedding announcement in Standard. Don't really get that one, but I mean, whatever. It is a 3 mana card in mono white, which is very powerful. So kind of, sort of, I haven't seen a whole lot of it in Standard, but then again, who's even watching Standard these days because of just people just don't want to play it, right? So they're banning Wedding Announcement. They're also going to banish the Wandering Emperor. Ban the Wandering Emperor. Um, I think that's a bit overkill unless the rest of these bans they think are going to affect the play. Because right off the bat, there's 2 white cards that that would maybe after the banning of these other cards really tear up the format per se. Um, yeah. Now next we have Invoke Despair. Um, this is one of my favorite cards. I wish it wasn't getting banned. However, in the decks it's been played at, if you guys watched the Pro Tour when it aired these last couple weeks ago, you will notice a lot of the cards on this deck are actually from that format because they had a black-red and a black-red-blue deck which just dominated the format. I mean, all 4 decks in the top 8 had Invoke Despair. You'll notice Fable the Mirror Breaker's in here. Almost every deck in the top 8 had a Mirror Breaker in it. If it played red, it played Mirror Breaker. The card is extremely overpowered for Standard. If you don't know why, go check out the Pro Tour. It's not only good in giving you a creature, helping you shift through your library, but it really powered up those animator decks that were bringing out things like Atraxa Grand Unifier or what have you. And it was also played with Evoke Despair, just because Evoke Despair could kill a creature, the enchantment itself. Honestly, getting rid of Fable Mirror Breaker might make Invoke Despair less playable because the real only enchantment you're targeting with that is the Mirror Breaker. But it's hard to say. I do think Invoke Despair is a great card, so as much as I don't want to see it banned, I honestly understand why, because I think it's a powerhouse, which is why I played it a lot. But anyway, I was never big on Mirror Breaker. This wasn't my thing. But after the Pro Tour, we saw how broken that card was, and it does need a ban. To be honest with you, it should never been made. My personal opinion. It probably would have been fine if the token it makes when it attacks didn't make treasure tokens to mana ramp you in red. That is probably the biggest problem with that card. If they just fixed it so the token didn't make treasures, I honestly don't think anybody would care. Um, yes, it would still be a great card, but I don't think it would be so over the top. I mean, because we have a red card here that not only gives you selection through your deck by discarding and drawing, which is what red normally does, it's fine, but it also makes a 2/2, and then it also ramps you, and then the ability for it to copy things is probably something else that shouldn't be as powerful as it is. So, like maybe it shouldn't be able to target any card named Mirror Breaker, so it can't target itself for infinite copies of itself to beat people in the face. But anyway, next we have our Fiend. Scheming Seer is also banned. Again, this comes from animate decks where you can early game lay this, draw and discard cards, put big nappies in your graveyard, and then reanimate them over and over again to do devastating things to your opponent. With that being said, Atraxa Grand Unifier is banned because it is the problem of reanimation. Not only, I mean, if you cast this for 7 somehow, that's probably fair. Still overpowered, even at 7. But when you cheat this into play on turn 4, it gets disgusting very quickly. When you're drawing 4 or 5 cards out of your deck, put the rest on the bottom. I mean, this card has taken over many formats, including the older formats where Sneak and Show is now running this instead of Grizzlebrand because it's just better. And there's going to be arguments in the comment section. Grizzlebrand's better. I can draw more cards. Yada yada yada. Yes, technically you can, but also when you Grizzlebrand draw a bunch of cards, you can get bolted off the board before you do anything. Atraxa lets you freely draw those cards, pick the ones you want, and it doesn't cost you anything. It's honestly probably a better card. Now, most of those decks right now are running a little bit of both of these cards. They're running like 3 Atraxas, 1 Grizzlebrand. Just on the off chance you draw 2 of them, you can play both. But yeah, Atraxa is a serious issue in Reanimator decks. Big enough mana cost to make it hard to get out, so it's a big payoff. But there's so many ways to cheat it. It honestly is too good for, especially a standard format. I look to see this thing get banned in older formats, depending on how much abuse it causes going forward. So, next we have Rankener Bankbuster. It's banned. For you guys who don't know, this was also another card that was in every deck in the top 8 of the Pro Tour, I believe, because it was just too good. 2 mana, you can lay it early. It doesn't matter what mana you have. It lets you draw cards, at least 3 of them. If your opponent plays a Planeswalker on 3, let's say Liliana, for example, they can kill your creature, that's fine. But if you lay a creature like, Bloodtide Harvester, I think is what it's called, the 3/2 for 2, you then just crew the Bankbuster, punch it in the face for 4, and Liliana's dead. Because it's on the battlefield, so it doesn't have Summoning Sickness. It's an extremely powerful card. Does it need banned? I don't know if it's banned because of how powerful it is, but in conjunction with how annoying it is to play against this card is probably why, because you can have a certain thing you want your deck to do to get an advantage, and a Bankbuster can just really tear that advantage apart in a matter of 2 or 3 turns. And it can go in any deck, so it doesn't matter, if your deck is weak against X, Y, Z and the Bankbuster is the answer, you just play the Bankbuster, end of story. Next, they banned Plaza of Heroes. Not real sure why this was banned. I mean, it does make... I believe this is the one that makes stuff indestructible and what have you. I don't remember seeing a whole lot of this card. But hey, maybe it's because of the theme decks and the... oh goodness. Creature type decks, Merfolk, soldiers, warriors, because I'm pretty sure Plaza Heroes interacts well with those guys. Maybe I'm wrong, probably should have looked that up. Sorry guys, I'm tired. Been a long day. But anyway, so if you go through these articles, they'll give you other explanations about why they thought they should ban them, so forth and so on. You can look into that yourself. I think we all know there's a lot of reasons for them to be banned. Um, One of the reasons it mentions here, is these cards will now allow a larger number of cards and strategies to be played that they were suppressing, which they were suppressing a lot. Um, and also give a more enjoyable format for the release of Wilds of Eldraine this fall. Um, so with that said, I think what we've also see here is they've decided to add a 1 year to the rotation, which I'll talk later about how that's not the answer. And now that they know it's not the answer, they're like, well, we'll just ban the cards that are really good, and then that'll make people happy who don't want to play. So again, they've got all this wrong on several different levels. Do I mind the banning? No, I don't. You might as well ban some stuff because it's not like people play it anyway, and it gives people a chance to play something different. Um, but there you have it. There's the leaks. We'll go into why this isn't fixing standard along with what else they're doing later. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I do appreciate it. Links in the description below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment. Until next time, be kind. Hope to see you across from the game table.